Fast approaching.
The wedding is fast approaching.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Before I begin, I'd like us all to take a moment of silence to honor all those we lost a year ago, those we have lost in the ensuing war since, and for the hostages that still remain. Thank you. Now, hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Lewis. I was born and raised in Atlanta. I grew up playing recreational sports at the Marcus JCC of Atlanta. I went to Temple Sinai for preschool, the Epstein School from kindergarten through 8th grade, and was an active member of Atlanta's BBYO. One might say that I am the poster child beneficiary of Atlanta Jewish Federation's work. I was also heavily involved in Chabad and Hillel at college, and co-founded and was vice president of Students Supporting Israel's chapter at the University of Florida. I've been a participant on Birthright, stayed in Israel for a summer internship through the Onward Israel program. I led a Birthright trip and was one of 45 students from North America to be selected for Hillel International's Insight Israel Fellowship trip to Israel and the West Bank, while being the only person nominated from the University of Florida. I was also in Israel visiting friends just 4 months ago, much to my mother's dismay, considering the situation going on right now. Sorry, Mom, I love you. I've recently joined the Jewish Federation of Tampa and was just accepted into its Hope Cohen Barnett Leadership Program, which begins shortly. However, I'm most importantly the grandchild of Kathy Seelig and Steve Kurnoff, the great-nephew of Steve Seelig and Linda Seelig, and the son of Brian and Amy Lewis, who are all the others. And beyond them, I have many other relatives in this room and beyond who have been incredible role models to me and to the community at large. They are all the reason I am who I am today, and most importantly, the reason that I have such a love and admiration for the importance and significance of the State of Israel and what it does for Jews around the world. Along with my family playing a huge role in my Jewish education, everyone in this room has played a role in that through your donations and work in our community. Whether it be through funding Jewish day schools like the Epstein School, organizations like Birthright, AIPAC, the Atlanta Jewish Federation, of course, or any other Jewish and Israel-devoted organization, you all have made contributions that has led to my generation giving a damn about Israel. Being in rooms like this make me proud to be Jewish, because I know that no matter what, there will always be a community of others like me, even when the world turns its back on people like us. And for that, I thank you all. Now, to address the realities of where we currently are as a people. Jews have always been demonized for whatever society's problems were at the time. An example of this happened just a few weeks ago, when Israel pulled off likely the most precise military operation in the history of the world via exploding pagers and walkie-talkies that specifically targeted Hezbollah terrorists, leaving just a tiny amount of collateral occurring. Compare that to 9,000 aimless missiles and drones launched into northern Israel over the past year, with seemingly no military strategy whatsoever, except, of course, to kill as many Israeli civilians as possible in the process. And yet, the world was only irate about Israel's actions, always and forever demonized. A great quote on this matter comes from Douglas Murray, a Christian pro-Israel advocate, who said, "Sometimes in the past, people hated Jews for their religion. Then, society said you couldn't hate others for their religion, so people hated Jews for their race. Society then said you can't hate people for their race, so people began hating Jews for having and defending the state. This is the eternal challenge for the Jewish people. Throughout history, we have been hated for being poor and for being rich, for being integrated and for not integrating, for being stateless pre-Holocaust, yet also now being hated for having a state. Through this, we must learn that anti-Semitism has always been a means rather than an end. It is a measure of contradictions yet to be resolved. Tell me what you accuse the Jew of, and I will tell you what you are guilty of. And even in this moment in society, when minorities are continually granted extra sympathy, Jews remain the only minority group that is demonized. Anti-Semitism has always come from, and always will come from, so many different walks of life. Whether it be radical Islamists at home or abroad, far-right or far-left individuals within our own country, or any other form of anti-Semite, Jews in the Jewish state have always been demonized since 1948, and unfortunately, always will be. And for millenniums before that, Jews were enslaved, hunted, and mistreated in almost every manner possible. We must never forget this cycle, and must always be ready to defend our own. There are those in our community who think that peace might be achieved through mere dialogue and negotiations. However, we must remember that those that we are at war with, or who seek war with us, are murderous savages seeking our total destruction. In their charter statements, each group fighting Israel has vowed to try to destroy Israel, and after that, to kill every Jew worldwide. And because of this, our only guaranteed survival, safety, and standing in the world is a strong Israel. We cannot pin our hopes on negotiating a ceasefire with these organizations who swear to destroy Jews in Israel, no matter how many international heads of states pressure Israel into doing so. There's a famous quote from 1849 from Herman Melville that reads, "You cannot spill a drop of American blood without spilling the blood of the whole world." A feisty, dangerous, yet painfully honest statement. To that I say, you cannot spill a drop of Jewish or Israeli blood without spilling the blood of your own. Jewish blood is no longer cheap. The days where it could be spilled without consequence are over. We, as the Jewish people, are not the hunted any longer. And now, after thousands of years, we can defend our own. But we can only defend our own with the state of Israel. If Israel is your number one priority, which I know it is, the influential people in this room must continue to do everything they can to raise up those who unapologetically stand by our side. We must uplift, donate to, and vote for pro-Israel candidates across the board. We must be active in Israeli affairs in Israel and in the diaspora, and continue to educate the next generation of the Jewish community. But passion about advocating for the Jewish community and Israel without the knowledge to do so is simply not enough. I have so many friends that want to speak up for Israel, believe that we are fighting for good, but that are not armed with the information and knowledge to convey why to others around them. We must invest in the education of young Jews on these issues to be effective communicators of these all-important matters. And in my strong opinion, being dedicated to one political party as a Jewish individual does not help our cause as Jewish Americans. Because unfortunately, for the first time in my young life, supporting Israel is no longer a guaranteed political position across the aisle. It is so easy to get caught up in hating a party. But we must remember to support candidates that are pro-Israel across the board, because that is the existential issue in a fight for Israel's very survival. And for the sake of providing examples, Senators Lindsey Graham and John Fetterman of South Carolina and Pennsylvania, respectively, are two of the most pro-Israel candidates in the United States Senate, while being about as far apart on domestic policy as possible. Them disagreeing on domestic policy does not matter at the end of the day, or more specifically, at the end of our day, because they both stand for the state of Israel and against terrorism. Both, for Israel's sake, must stay in the Senate, and we must fight for them and others like them to stay in office in the face of unrelenting pressure from terror-supporting groups across the board. America, for generations now, has defended and provided military aid to Israel. But these recent calls for people to cut off military funding to Israel is not only anti-Jewish state, but completely lacking in foresight when it comes to protecting Israelis, Palestinians, Lebanese, and others around the region. That is because most of America's military funding to Israel has gone towards funding the Iron Dome, the single biggest war preventer in an always intense region. This has allowed for Israel to ignore countless rockets fired at its civilians and opt for trying for peace for decades now. And still, even with such great military defenses, we are where we are today. Thus, we must remember an all-important doctrine that Israel has lived by for decades. Israel's best defense is, and always has been, a strong offense. Beyond this, I am just about done hearing any condemnation of the most moral army in the world, when it is fighting the most immoral armies in the world. An easy way to break down this conflict, and how it started, is by remembering this. Hamas carries genocidal intent, but lacks genocidal capabilities, whereas Israel maintains genocidal capabilities, but does not possess genocidal intent. Consequently, America must stop trying to deter Israel from fighting its own battles. America must not put pauses on 2,000-pound bomb shipments because of fearing how the most moral army in the world will use them. All the while, there are currently more armies at war with Israel than there are countries supplying it with military aid. America must not pressure Israel when deciding if it goes into hotbeds, terrorism hotbeds like Rafah, all in the hopes for a ceasefire that did not, at the time, militarily benefit Israel due to the remaining terror squads in the area. America also cannot pressure Israel in any way to agree to a ceasefire deal, no matter how badly America wants a ceasefire. We should go back to only pressuring Hamas, our enemy, not Israel, our ally. And as I mentioned before, I am not aligned to a party. I'm aligned to an issue, and an existential issue at that. An existential issue that faces each and every one of us in this room right now. We must all be strong in remembering this and motivate others to do the same. A large amount of my Israeli friends are in Gaza, on the Lebanon border, in the Air Force, or in intelligence roles in the IDF right now. And they are badasses, doing what they must in a time of war that they did not want nor start. But they are winning. And for them, we must not give up. For them, you cannot give up. Because it is truly people like you in this room that can help this problem by continuing to do what you do with your more than generous donations. These very donations have gone to furthering people like myself's Jewish and Israeli-based educations throughout my life. You have empowered us as the next generation of damn proud Zionists to fight on behalf of our people, and that is our war. These donations have, over the course of my life, catalyzed the fire within me to debate with students on campus about Israel. They have enabled me to tap into the hearts of others who previously stood against Israel to now have a different perspective on this war for our very survival. I was even inspired to debate an ambassador to the country of Jordan, along with a panel of her 7 allied individuals, alone in front of a group of about 50 listeners while on semester at sea, an international study abroad program I went on. I tell you all of this to let you know that there are young Jews that will fight for us, our people, and the state of Israel, as you have empowered us with the knowledge to fight for Israel with our words. You should be proud of us like we are proud of you for helping to give us Jewish educations and an appreciation for Israel. And to try to lighten the mood a little bit more, I would like to leave you all with something positive that I've seen recently, as I'm sure you all have as well. A new wave of my generation is damn proud to be Jewish. Over the last 12 months, I've seen the Jewish community come together unlike any other time I can remember. From generation to generation, when we get knocked down, we get back up. And we get back up stronger every damn time. Thank you all again, and Am Yisrael Chai.